he even said, yeah, but there was a change in him where it almost was like a 180 flip.
AOA, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AOA, check me out. Look, blocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boys Isaiah.
Oh, hi, oh.
And Gavin.
Hi, oh, hi.
I want to try something new.
And
I tried to invert
today,
I'm going to try something new. Literally copies everything I said.
No,
you did it in reverse.
I did it in reverse.
Reverse.
Oh, incredibly original. I'm sorry. You're right. Oh, shit. Totally new.
Very new and original. All right. TOG, you already know the drill. Part one of our questions that are posed by the people in our Discord. Thank you so much to everyone that participated. Whether your question is going to be stated in today's video or not, we do want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking part in what it is that we do. It really means a lot when the community comes together to help us in the creation of these videos, whether inadvertently or otherwise. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We are covering what episodes again now?
278, I believe, 286.
286, thank you.
Or sorry, 279.
279, 286, yes. Which we covered in our live stream. If you haven't seen that yet, you definitely want to go check that out. It was a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. And definitely check out our blog post discussion as well, going over that slew of episodes. But we're here today. We're going to answer these questions. If you like the content today, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, sharing with your friends, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of the questions posed? What did you think of our discussion and our answers to them? What were your thoughts on these episodes? And what are your thoughts on Tower of God in general? But without further ado, Gavin, if you'd like to take it away with the first question.
Dodger Roger. We got our first question by Vladimir. What do you guys think is the meaning of the Rak-like portrait that they found? What does it mean for the future Rak? Or what does it tell us of the past? So, very interesting. I have a couple thoughts on it, actually.
I'm excited to hear them.
Some probably very irrelevant, but I don't know. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
excited.
Less excited. No, all right.
My excited meter went down a little bit
All right,
there.
fair enough. But I just want to throw
Gonna have
some
to bring it
stuff
up
out
again.
there. So, obviously, in the painting, the first thing, or not the painting, but the what does he want? Portrait. Okay, picture.
goes,
It was
"What
like
does
a
he want?"
I don't know what he's talking. Is obviously we saw the clothing that Rak was wearing, and it was identical to what he was wearing when everybody actually teleported down into the hidden floor when he was fighting that sea monster. He had that cape, he had the thing. Whether it was similar, alike, or not, whatever, I feel like that is almost a hint that someone in Rak's ancestry, or even maybe Rak in another life, actually made it to the hidden floor and had a notoriety there. And he might have actually been one of the figures who was wiped by Jahad when he allowed certain people in. So I actually feel like it was a very strong descendant who had a high notoriety that maybe was in that top level who was eradicated by Jahad. And that was like almost a little Easter egg that was left because there had to be relevance for that to be hung there to begin with. So someone of the hidden floor had to have known of his existence or had to place it there for some reason. And I feel like if you're on the hidden floor, there's so many strong people, like there has to be relevancy, especially that it's by the exit. So, yes, that is what I really think about Rak. I don't know. I'm also curious if it is tied to his enemy or whatever. What do they call it? The
Sworn enemy.
The sworn enemy, because it's interesting how now that we've seen everybody else's, what kind of ties they actually play back to, their childhood, their past life, and, getting all that detail and information. And Rak's was the first one that we've seen, and it made sense. It was a super strong, thing that Rak could never kill, and, that could be a sworn enemy, blah, blah, blah. But I'm wondering if that's actually not his sworn enemy, but the ancestor who was previously at the hidden floor sworn enemy, and it kind of just got translated because maybe Rak just doesn't have one because of the way his personality is, or maybe it's just everyone in that lineage is just the same, almost one-track minded in a sense, and it's that is their enemy. Or I wonder if that just specific serpent has a tie to their lineage in some way, because I don't know, I just feel everybody else's sworn enemy had so much tie to them as a character, and his was just very yeah, it's strong. He can't one-shot it. So, it's a sworn enemy. And I'm there has to be a bigger meaning behind it. And I just, for me, that's 2 and 2. Like maybe it's an ancestral pass down, not his, but somebody in his lineage is sworn enemy.
Yeah.
So that is my theory on the portrait. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but
So can you do me a favor? I should have a Discord tab open.
okay.
Can you go to that real quick? Because this is going to influence my answer here, because we don't have the panel included in the question that you see here, but it was included in our Discord. And I want to remember exactly if he was like what the portrait was to the T. So if you go to AOA, top left, there you go, TOG questions. Actually, you're in it already.
I'm blind.
If you just scroll up a bit.
Yeah.
No, down. That one. Can you click that? Yes. Okay. I was going to say, I wanted to get I'm looking at the portrait right now, and I didn't know if they included the weapon. I forgot, because I was going to say if like the spear was there, it's relevant. Yeah, I do feel like this being looks, I want to say, older than Rak. I mean, it's kind of tough because they look so similar, but like just his face doesn't look exactly like Rak, I feel, where it's like he's got a little thicker, and the things on the on like his eyebrows, or like the things on the side of his head, seem to be longer than Rak's. I don't know if I'm probably looking too hard into that. But I'm thinking it could be some sort of ancestor here, but I don't know for certain. I really would be beating dead horse going over it all again, because honestly, your theories are basically the ones that I was throwing around in my head for Gavin. Either it's an ancestor or it's Rak in some sort of past thing. But it's weird because even though that would be his past, it's almost like it's his future in a weird sense, which is like the only character then that would get flipped on his head, in the sense that it's like all the other people are like, these are our past selves. And even though that is Rak's past self, it's obviously, if he got his mind, like, because if he doesn't know it or anything, I would figure he got his mind wiped for some reason, like something's going on. So like, it's like this weird paradoxical time thing if it is him. So I'm very curious. And the fact that they put it as a portrait on the wall means that not only was it Rak or an ancestor and he was just there, but he was also relevant, because you don't just like, he bears significance, because you wouldn't just like carve that into a wall just for shits and giggles, or maybe you would, but I mean, like that, just requires a lot of time, and I feel like these people got a lot to do. So I don't know. I think that he definitely bears some significance in the fact that he might be looked at as like a hero, whether it's an ancestor or him. I don't know. What do you think, Isaiah?
I'm definitely pretty much in the ancestor boat, because like I think this might be the explanation as to why Rak ended up on the hidden floor before everybody else and didn't have to go in the same way everybody else did. Like the last time we saw him was falling off that bridge in the in between of the floor of death, or the name hunt station, floor of death. So. And then from there, he just went from there, and the next time we saw him was a hidden floor. Don't know how he did that, but I think we'll have to see if this is true, how they explain it. But a viable option could be that he was brought to the hidden floor because he was mistaken as one of his ancestors, who's this great prodigy of the hidden floor. Maybe he did something for the residents of the hidden floor. Maybe he was one of the people that, like, when Jahad started wiping data and shit, he was like, oh no, fuck that, and tried to fight him. I don't know. But I don't really think that it's Rak, like from a past life. And I don't think it's his sworn enemy, because the forget her name, but the chick that they meet when they come, the one who's with Rak, makes it a point to say that if you don't have a sworn enemy from your past, the mirror world will make one. Meaning they'll just conjure up something out of your subconscious. So I think that's why that monster is his sworn enemy, because, like, let's be real, out of Rak's subconscious, that's probably something that would come out of it. And we don't know enough about Rak's past for anything to be feasible, at least from the audience perspective. And like, I feel like we've kind of already done the my sworn enemy is myself kind of beat, and you can only do that so many times before it just gets repetitive.
Sure.
So I definitely think, and plus, like you were saying with the portrait, like there's enough visual distinctions that it's clearly not Rak, and like I guess you could make the argument that it's an older Rak, but I don't know, personally I think it's a little weak. I think that it's a much stronger bet that it's somebody from Rak's family, his lineage, ancestry, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. The only thing that throws me off in it, the more I think about it, is when he looks at it and he goes, me, with a question mark, and I don't know if that's Rak being like me, like I would know me when I look at it, or just getting thrown off in the sense that it's like looks like me.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like
I'm sure. I think it's Rak just getting thrown. I mean, he's not the most intelligent creature. That you know what I mean. Like I think if he sees a picture that looks enough like him, he's like, why is there a picture of me? And this is the guy who thinks he's the leader of the. You know what I mean? I don't think he's. Yeah, that's what I meant. He's he's not the brightest alligator in the city.
All right, relax. Let's not take this too far.
When he initially got taken, or when the bridge blew up, and that was the last that we saw him, were they over a body of water, or was there nothing below it? Do you remember?
I don't even think it showed what was under the bridge.
Yeah, it was like far below.
Because I wonder if that's the tie-in of the serpent, if like that serpent actually brought him to the hidden floor. Because, I mean, he had to just get there in that time of him falling. In some sense, because we saw the explosion and I'm just wondering how, like, what is the connection between the hidden floor and that?
Some Jormungandr Norse mythology world serpent shit.
I don't know.
I think there are some people. I mean, like, I think that's the loophole that the hidden floor has, where it's like, oh, don't worry if you don't have a sworn enemy in your life, like your life, like we'll make one for you. So, like, I literally think because it wouldn't make sense for that thing to be anywhere else. It's got to be something that hidden floor made. To challenge.
Well, but then you can also argue that it was a sworn enemy of his ancestry, so that would already have links to him. Like, it doesn't that like for me, it just seems more like uncreative or like not very thoughtful to just literally pull something out of thin air. And I don't feel like SIU is really the person to do that. So I feel like to have it tie in some way to the relevancy of the character is something that he would just naturally do. And even though it's not very upfront, like, I could just see a tie-in and would probably appreciate it in some way.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's not just, and for lack of a better term, an ass pull in the sense that you could be right, but in the event that you're not, the enemy is created from what we've seen from the subconscious and the character flaws and all that kind of stuff. So I guess it's not out of the question that, like, that being that is Rak's enemy, if it was just created there, isn't necessarily out of nowhere. Like, it has significance.
That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying it's not. Like, I understand if that's the case. I'm just saying it would be more creative, in my opinion, if there was another avenue that he would have taken for the existence of it. You know, it just,
that's fair.
It would make more sense, I would feel like, in a story. It doesn't have to be, and it's not wrong if he doesn't. It just, like, I don't know, be a cool extra tidbit, like a little Easter egg.
No, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so I think we went through that question pretty well. Thank you, Vladimir, by the way, for the question. Next question comes to us by Sad Sparkles. Thank you, Sad Sparkles, for the question. Sad Sparkles says, Khun's main goal from the moment we get to know him is to be the leader of the Khun family. How unreachable is that goal now that we've seen Idan and Jahad from before they were even rankers? They're on a completely different level. And this question goes for every Slayer like White or Karaka. Just how can they take down the family leaders? Yeah, this is a good question because I'm kind of stumped by it, like how this is going to happen. You know, it just, in terms of power scaling, like raw physical output, I don't know, man. Like, if Khun's going to be able to get to that point, I think it might be something where, you know, I think it might have to be some sort of coup, right? If we're going down that route where Khun has to, Isaiah references a lot, you know, it takes a whole village, right, to take down the king type thing, where if Khun wants to do that, it's in a forceful way. I think he's going to need a lot of people to his side to not necessarily do some sort of all-out brawl, but to usurp with some sort of plan of political and, you know, this crazy thing. Not to mention that he can't kill them anyway or his father anyway, because he's immortal. So I actually don't think that he's going that route. At least the chips don't line up necessarily for me in that regard. Now, there could be something, too, where, you know, if he's going along with Bomb and Bomb winds up taking the place of Jahad as the new king of the tower or whatever, Khun, I would assume, would be instilled as the head of the Khun family because, obviously, they're boys. So that's another route that they could take, you know? Bomb's going to be like, Edon,
all right, I'm king now. All y'all out? Yep. I'll put my boys in.
Yeah, it could. I mean, that's another route. But I don't know. And then the third route here, too, is that there might be something, you know, once... I'm curious to meet, obviously, their present-day versions, but it's something along the lines of Edon might just be willing to, step down from whatever role depending on what happens and what transpires at certain events. Like there might be some sort of middle ground that is had where it's a voluntary thing, but those are 3 different scenarios. But I guess the only scenario I am eliminating from that equation is the I just beat you in a one-on-one fight type thing. Because we've referenced this a lot where we're like, oh, I'm curious to see how these people stack up against X person, now that we're here. And we see that it just doesn't even seem like a competition in terms of physical output, right? In terms of fighting ability or just raw talent when it comes to being able to kill someone. So I don't know if that's the route. Like that's a tall order for A.A. Kun. So I think it would be one of those 3 that I had mentioned. At least those are the ones that come to my mind, but I'm curious to know what you guys think.
People reference this oh, don't you guys get it now? Like rankers and high rankers and the 10 family heads, like the power scale, like making it a point to be like the power scale is just completely of another world.
Yeah.
And like it is like right now, but like the whole definition of a power scale is that it scales to your literal character growth. So if you get stronger, guess what? The gap gets smaller. I don't think it's out of the question to say that at some point these characters could get to a place where they could physically challenge these characters. Now, do I think that's soon? No. But I don't. I think it's weird that people are like, it can never happen. Like, do you see how strong he is now?
That's
it's like,
fair.
yeah, he's that strong now.
Yeah,
but like again, the whole point is that they just got to get stronger.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know. I find this whole thing with like Jahad and the 10 family heads, they have this contract for immortality, like being flimsy, where it's like they have a contract for immortality. They're not like naturally immortal. So like most of how the spells work in this world, if you get rid of that contract, they're no longer immortal. Like I guess what I'm getting at is I think there's a way to break down these family heads to making them at the very least just naturally strong fighters, which is a different bout and a albeit smaller or slightly shorter bill to fill than like, oh, go take on this immortal guy who's super strong. Now he's just super strong, but he can die. These people may have incredibly, high talent but they're not actual gods. I think that's like what has always stuck in my head is that like they are people. They may be, they're not like normal humans, what is like normal as in relative to the characters we know, but like they're not actually invincible. I do think there's a route that can be beaten with things like spells that have recently been introduced and with BAM and like the Thorn and just all the other items that I'm sure we'll see going up the tower. I don't think it's out of the question that like any of them, now I don't think most of the leaders will be taken down in a straight one-on-one brawl. I do think it's going to require whether it's some coup or some plan or some, trickery or whatever. To get rid of some of them. But I don't know. I do think through, and like, again, I guess like you could combine the two, right? And be like, oh, the plan is to fight X person and then use this thing. And then like, I don't know. It doesn't seem plausible in my mind that it's like, well, we shouldn't even consider fighting them. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, they're not actually invincible. And I think that, at least in my head, that's what's important. So I do think it's going to take a lot of planning. It's going to take, if there is some sort of physical altercation, like a lot of training. But I don't know. I could see some mix of like I said, some mix of trickery and some mix of like utilize. Because again, a lot of the I don't know. We've only met 2 of the not of the family heads, but like we know of like Khun A.A. and some of the other Khuns in reference to Khun A.A, and then White or Joaquin in reference to the head of the Ari family. I feel like if anybody's gonna know how to take them down, it's got to be like people that know that family or that are from that family. So
makes sense.
That's my bet.
No, that's fair. Gavin, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I echo a lot of the same ideas. I guess my thing comes with it's like unreachable now, maybe, but you got to remember that even A.A at one point at the point that he's at now, Khun made a statement, paraphrasing here, but he was like, wow, my dad's strong, but he's nowhere where he is in his current day. Like, he can tell the difference. And the thing is, yeah, that's normal. Like with the whole power scaling, like you're not gonna be born into the world being the most OP from day one. Like no matter who you are, you're gonna have to put some modicum of effort in it, and some people more than others. And we saw with just Khun in one like montage sesh with Evan, and now he has Enakor and that ability, and he's like not even a quarter of like proficient in it because it could scale up to 64 different things, you know. And it's like he has room to grow, and he definitely has a lot more floors to like climb up by, and he's going to just get more items by default. So I feel like as they climb the tower higher to where they're even going to get to the point to which these families are at that point, they're going to have so much in their arsenal and so much power and so much training under their belt that they actually might be able to, you know, not necessarily go 1-to-1, but if you have friends or a team, if you have Bam and friends and Dorsey, say Yuri in there, like you do have a comparable team, I would think, that would be able to overthrow. Like that's the whole name of this game. So at this point, yeah, they're on a different level. Like no duh, they're supposed to be. Like if they were that strong already, well, what's to stop them from just going like fast past the top of the tower? So it's like for me, it's almost like a no-brainer. Like now they're not going to be able to do it, but I mean the whole point of the story is to get the power to do it and like climb. So like I'm not concerned by it at this point. So yeah,
I am
we'll
curious real quick, because none of us answered this second part. If anyone has any thoughts, how this relates to the Slayers, because I know this was part of the question as well. I know I focused a lot of my answer on Khun.
Well, so I guess one of my things that I was saying is like, if anybody knows, so this is assuming that my theory is correct, which I don't know that it is and could be complete asshole, but if it's not, I do assume that the Slayers are linked to like being the tools to get in or to defeat the family heads, in the sense that like they are all related to the family heads.
Yeah,
so like
that
again,
makes sense.
who can beat a family head? Probably
Sure.
somebody from the family. That's probably what the role the Slayers play.
Okay, that makes sense. Which would make sense with White, Ari, like you said. Maybe the person who's targeting Edon is a Khun.
Yeah.
Karaka is a Jahad. Things like that. So yeah, that makes sense for sure. Yeah, I'm curious to see when we're like, you know, way up there, how it stacks. You know, I'm wondering, because it's like a big theme, unfortunately, in this tower is, and they kind of drill it into you from the rip, and I don't know if they drill it into you all because they want it to be subverted, and like that's kind of the point. But it's that there are some people that are just blessed in this tower, and there are some people that are just they're not blessed, right? Like they don't have.
They are not built different.
No, they're not. They don't have that, you know, inner latent ability. They don't have what it takes just naturally. And, you know, they reference this a lot where it's like, no matter how hard you train, there are going to be people that just because of their lineage or whatever are just always going to trounce you when it comes to that. And obviously that, you know, that narrative doesn't sit well with me as a person that roots for the underdog. Like I said, I mean, I love me some Hots. So obviously it could be kind of a shot to the heart to see all the hard work that some of the characters put. But my point here is that it seems to be a narrative that's pushed. And if it's supposed to be subverted, then fair enough when we get there later. But I wonder how that plays a role when it comes to irregulars, family heads, you know, things like that, where it's like, you know, half of the reason that the families or the descendants of the families are so powerful, from what I've gathered, is because they have the blood of the top dog. So I wonder what the limits of that are, and if it's more of like, I almost relate it to like the Demon Slayer, where it's like minor spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it ahead, but how like Muzan gives demons his blood in order to make them more powerful, and they could go like ham as shit when they train and like do all they got to do when you get to the upper moons, but at the end of the day, beyond eating humans, like they really only get more powerful when he gives them more blood. You know what I mean? Which means that there's really they're never going to beat him because their source of their power is him. So I like wonder if that correlates in some way, shape, or form when it comes to Jahad or some of the family heads and all that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm curious, and if it requires someone from the outside, right? Like, and that's I think what's implied sometimes with Bomb being an irregular or Uric or Phantasm or I don't know whatever the hell his name is or
Planetarium.
Planetarium.
That's the point of one of the roles that the workshops play in the tower is that like
technology.
Again, I do think that the whole point of this, not that I have wrote this story, but like I do kind of think the point here of the story, or a cool place that the story could go, is this idea of like the tower being the thing that preaches like, oh, some people just got it and some people don't. But it's like, again, there are things in the tower that contradict that. The workshops,
drugs,
yeah. But like, no, but I'm serious because
No,
like
I know.
the workshop has created tools
That's fair.
that make impossible fights possible for some people.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
there are ways and things in this tower and tools
yeah.
that even the weakest person could use to like overturn or triumph over a stronger
Of course,
person.
of
It's all
course,
about
yeah.
how you utilize.
Yeah, you
the
put a
tower.
gun in
And-
somebody's hand against it. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I understand.
and
for
not
sure.
only that, but mentioned by my boy Lero Rowe in the Shinsu wall test, another probably one of the most important factors to have by your side in the tower is luck.
yeah.
And luck is literally the plot hole in everything that has to do with Destiny.
Very
and blood and
freaking
everything.
convenient.
It's very convenient, and I'm just saying
Yeah.
that is like going to be that is
No,
the premise of the tower.
They do make
Yeah.
that a point too, where they're like, some people you might get lucky.
Yeah.
you might find just the right way to beat somebody.
Yeah, well, I always figured, I mean, obviously that luck is such a, broad term. So yeah, that totally makes sense. But I generally interpreted that line like that, but also luck as in like what you're born into. You know what I mean? Like some people are lucky, some are not. Like you're either
Oh,
a 10
yeah,
family
yeah.
head
Well, I guess it's like
or you're not,
it's all
like type
encompassing.
thing.
You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious. It would, if they beat him in a one-on-one, like if it's like Khun A.A. Khun versus Edon Khun at top level or whatever, like I guess you give it long enough maybe, but it's from what we've seen for some of these guys, it's going to be a pretty tall order. So
It'll be a minute.
I personally doubt in a 1v1, but I mean if they get the whole village, then maybe they got something going for them. But my personal opinion. Anyway, that was a good question. So thank you very much for that, Isaiah. If you want to take the next one.
Third question comes from Irene Sharda. Thank you for the question. They say, what do you think of the idea of the data of Jahad as a regular was corrupted or changed when he was visited by his current self, according to Edon? How much do you think he changed? What do I think of the idea? I think it's 100% true. Like I was saying in our live stream, it makes sense. Jahad is somebody who, is making sure that however many steps he needs to have in play to make sure that he stays in king, that he's got 10 more than what he needs. He seems like somebody who is very, very, at least not like current Jahad, very overcautious about his position, about the people that he claims that are his supporters, about anybody. He's somebody who has to know where all the pieces on the chessboard are, because if he doesn't, like one misstep could be his downfall. And so someone like that, leaving a data version of himself that is a literal different person in terms of who he is, how he thinks about the world, his ideals, what he represents, is a very dangerous loose end to leave there. So of course he'd go down there and be like, just tweak, make sure, this is that, and you don't think this, and all that stuff. I don't think it's out of the question at all. I mean, Jahad is one of the only people we know who can kind of freely go through the tower and fuck with whatever, regardless of what the floor's established rules are. According to Edon, how much do I think Jahad has changed? Again, like a night and day. I do think that the amount of time for what's passed between when Jahad cleared the hidden floor and when he establishes himself as king of the tower, plus the events, one of the most traumatic ones we know for him being the whole V Arlene turn, I think completely molded him. I think by now, Bam's time, the Jahad that's at the top of the tower is literally a different human being than the Jahad. I think and they make this a point, I think a little bit, even with Edon, these guys are the future king and the future head of the Khun family, but at this stage, they were adventurers. They were people who were climbing the tower. They had still enough of these semblances of a normal person in them to be, to be pure, or I think pure enough to where a lot of the tower stuff wasn't tainting them. To where, you take the hidden floor, X amount of years, however long it takes to get from there to the top of the tower. Yeah, now they're, but it's good because you see the seeds in the hidden floor. You see the seeds of these characters being I think I'm just built different. I'm not meant to be, you know what I mean? It's there in the sense that they didn't want to interact with the original hidden floor. Now they're on the hidden floor. So again, give them that seed and give that time to fester from the hidden floor all the way to the top.
Sure.
Yeah, it makes sense that by the top of the tower, they're no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's my thoughts.
Hey, Gavin, did you get anything? Or you got anything?
I mean, it's pretty much the same. I am not going to say that it's necessarily a night and day change, only because I want to know current Jahad and where he is now, because that I feel like that would be a big determining factor in like for me knowing, because if I feel like if Jahad is that person like very egotistical and has a very like king-like mindset, I feel like that would very much transpire to the same attitude that he would have given, his replica or copy in the Hidden Floor. But with the conversations that Bam has had with him, he actually on some level seemed like a decent guy. Like he didn't come at like, there were his moments, yeah, but even when they were first talking, I was like, all right, he doesn't seem like terrible. Like he's actually kind of like, there's like a weird side to it. And like, I didn't get a feeling that he was masking it or he was trying to be deceitful. There was a side that was almost like a playful kind of kid side that, is twisted and changed. And that might be his old self or that adventurer side. And literally like Jahad came down and was just like, you're a king, you need to be destined, and just like made that tweak and maybe erased Arlene. But like, I'm hesitant to say that it's a full 180, because then I feel like it would just be a direct replica of current Jahad and previous Jahad. So I don't know how much of it is true to his old self or not, but we won't know until we meet current Jahad. But yeah, I think it was more of a tweak, and I'm curious because there is a weird playful side to him that like, I don't know.
I don't think it's necessarily the like, oh, he's not such a bad guy. Because he was willing to axe all those people. And okay, fair enough if your term of bad and good, or if you're like there is no bad and good and all that kind of stuff, because he's king and he has to do these things. So there is that argument there. I think what might have been surprising to some of the people that read through this for the first time is that you're expecting Jahad to be like, I don't know if crazy is the right word, but like this like a villain, right? Like this embodiment of a villain, right? This is the guy. This is the dude that's been causing issues for everything, at least according to most people, right? This force of nature, exactly. But when you meet him and he comes looking all goofy and ish with those shorts and the big sword and his funny looking goggles, and he, goes through, what it takes to be a king, or at least according to him, to bomb. And he's like, listen, I threw away that name. You realize that he's very human, right? At least that's what I got. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he's absolved of sin, because he's certainly not doing great things where we see him right now. But I think it makes his character interesting that he's not just like, I'm big bad for the sake of being big bad. It seems like he is conflicted within his own mind, right? Like when he says, no, this is something that you have to block out. You start with people that want to go for your throat, and eventually you get down to people in your inner circle, and then you wind up getting rid of the people that you love most, right? And it's like, it seems like he still wants to, he's like convincing himself of that almost, like as he says it. So yeah, I find it interesting, the reveal of him, right? Because it might not have been what a lot of people expected. I didn't know what to expect. It took me a little by surprise. I mean, Wangnan being some sort of, relevance, I was like, okay, maybe they share this like goofiness and stuff. So like there was that, but I don't know. I find the whole thing interesting. I personally think that, if his future or current self instilled whatever instilled his personality traits, or, overrode the personality traits of his former self in the Hidden Floor, I do feel like my mind tells me that they'd have to be pretty damn similar, because it'd be weird for him to, unless he did that a long time ago and then just let that thing be, and then a lot of time has passed for current Jahad self, and he's like, oh, I overrode that guy's data a while ago, like now I've changed even more. So I could see that with my personal thing. But if this was, the years in the tower are just like subjective at this point. So if it was like remotely close in time within the past 100 years or whatever that he did that, I would assume that they have to be somewhat similar in that regard, right? Because if he's instilling his personality in order that his former self carries out the wishes of his current self. So I don't know. That's one of my mind that's like tripped me up.
Can I add a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
Knowing Jahad, it isn't actually like, I would think it's not the biggest deal if he doesn't think exactly the same as he does, as long as important information is erased from his mind. So that's why I'm like, he might not feel like it's necessary to jump through all of these hoops in terms of just like, all right, we'll just erase some things and move on. Like, it's not necessary essentially to go through all of the emotional states and changes. Because what's interesting, if you remember back when we met Thor, he actually made a comment about when Jahad was moving through the rice cooker, and he said, like, it almost looked like there were similarities to Bam in his personality, where it was like it was almost this like seemingly innocent, almost like every protagonist that you get, like a childish in the sense of nature. And he even said, yeah, but there was a change in him where it almost was like a 180 flip. So that's what makes me feel like that he was like Jahad was this person that we saw, but there was something that led to a very vast change in his personality that is different from the one that we're currently seeing. So for us, it's different.
The only thing with that though is that, well, it's established that while I agree, obviously, because it's stated there's a change, isn't it that he gets to that point and then so the change happened, whatever made him, go off the rails. And then, it's implied that he then instills, he wipes the old hidden floor version and instills it with what he wants. But he's already at that point. So the change has already happened. So, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if, the change already happened. He already is what he is at the top and then overrode the data.
But what I'm getting at is it might not be a big deal to go in with all, because, he doesn't have to go in and change the entire personality to what it is now. There's not he can, yes, yeah. But I also could see him being the type of guy who's just honestly, the hidden floor is kind of irrelevant for me. There's really there's a purpose in it, yeah, but I don't need to go putting all this time and effort in making sure he's I just need to literally erase some stuff that I don't want my old self knowing, which could be Arlene and some other things. I want this mentality instilled with him. But he doesn't necessarily need to recopy himself and paste him in there. I think
the other thing is that Jahad, the hidden floor is the only place in the whole tower that there's any version or piece of Jahad until you get to the top of the tower. So if Jahad, and again, this thing that Gusting has tasked Bam with going to get is on the hidden floor. The hidden floor is not a place anybody can just roll up into.
Exactly.
There are certain qualifications you have to meet before you can even get into the hidden floor, and then it's clearing the hidden floor and getting through to get to Jahad's younger version. I don't think that whatever it is Gusting wants is so careless and not of worry to Jahad that he's I don't really care about the hidden floor. I think whatever that thing is would be valuable to Jahad, or would be valuable in terms of taking Jahad down, which is why you put it there, because you can't just get to the hidden floor. You basically need to be granted access to the hidden floor because you have to clear the hell train. That's the first prerequisite. Then it's getting the key, finding a way in, getting rid of your sworn enemy, all that stuff. But so I do think he'd put a little care in, if he got there and being making sure that this version, which is basically a younger mini ruler, echoes a lot, if not all the, because the thing is why would he care? If we're talking about the Jahad that's at the top of the tower, why does he care if it's his old self gets to keep his little? But why would he care? Why wouldn't he just make it exactly? Him?
But it's kind of the same argument, because with that whole mindset, there are people who have made it to the hidden floor. We know Sachi and gang was there at some point, and there is a quest in line for people to take and complete to get out of it. What isn't supposed to happen is what we're watching now, and that's people going through the other side of the mirror and going into the big breeders world, which honestly the Jahad had when he took people into the other mirror, they got killed. So he's already of the mindset that nobody's passing through this shit. I got big breeders here. They're the ones who are going to mitigate anything that's happening. Nobody is ever going to see my old self because I already have so many safety nets. It's just, it really is. And that's something that was in place when he added the second mirror. So it's if he was to come back even after that point to add, for me, it's just maybe not something that's as relevant for him because it's not he's going to have conversations with
I feel Jahad, though, from what we've established from his character, the context clues, is that he is I don't know if paranoid's the right word, but he's a very cautious and he's very cognizant of what's happening around him and what it's going to take for him to keep his power. Mm-hmm. So it would be kind of hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that there is anything that involves him or people that are powerful enough to mess something up that he just flippantly is oh, I think I got it. I think just in the fact that he had all the axed, the data versions axed, and that he overrode the data on there, and that it is so secretive, for him to be found, his location and all of these certain cautionary things. I think that that speaks to his character. That like, I guess if you're arguing that it's like, okay, he finally thinks that he's done enough. But I don't know. I think just the fact that he's come down to meet Bomb as someone that is potentially disrupting this makes it seem like he's very concerned about who is disrupting what with his 9 million lighthouses that he's looking through, like every single person who comes through.
I don't know. I would say if this is a copy pasta of the current Jahad, I would be more concerned of him not only keeping that power, but staying at it. Because I look at him and I can see almost the immaturity of that age. And for me, I would find it more unbelievable if that is the exact replica of himself in current day. Like for me, it just wouldn't be believable. I'm like, it's just for everything that we know and all of the schemes that have been put in place, like you could pay me money and I still wouldn't believe that this is him. Like it's just from the nature that we've seen, even if it's a whole hidden side, like there's just nothing that ties in this is Jahad. Like for me, it's like this is the point of this was a different version of himself. And when we get the current version of him, we're supposed to look back and reflect on the changes. Like that is the physical representation of this is a taste of what he was and this is what he is now. I almost feel like I just don't find it intuitive to have the same one and it's like the same personality.
Well, when we say that it's like, or at least when I was saying that it's like a copy pasted version, I don't think it's like literally one for one. Like you're not going to find a single difference between young Jahad and current Jahad. But I think the main differences are going to be experience, maturity, and exactly how much more corrupted he's become. But I think the core ideals of that kind of personality, which is cautious, controlling, like dominant, like all of those things are still going to be there. Like that's what old Jahad put in place, and that's what he tweaked to put in younger Jahad. Yeah, sure, he can't do anything about like upgrading his maturity or experience because it's a younger version of him. That stuff is fine. It's not that you're going to only find in old Jahad. But the core of that personality, which is a controlling, egotistical king, that's there. I mean, the hidden floor version, the data is the one he's out here preaching like, in order to be a king, you got to step over everybody that's around you, including getting rid of the people that you love the most. But we know that the separation from the hidden floor to the floor of death is just one floor in terms of like going up the tower. But if he got that whole pep talk or whatever from the God of Guardians, who, if we remember, the God of Guardians was the one who quoted Jahad as saying a very similar thing that Bam said, which was Jahad asked for more power to make everybody happy, to keep all of his friends safe. Mm-hmm. That kind of Jahad is not going to do a 180 and turn into somebody who's saying you need to kill everybody that's close to you in one floor, unless those parts of his mind, memory, whatever, are tweaked by older Jahad to make, you know what I mean? Like that.
Well,
makes
I
no
don't.
sense.
I'm saying that's not the argument, though. Like this whole time, it's obvious that he made those changes, and he's no longer an adventurer, and he now is a king. Like that isn't what I'm arguing at all. All I'm saying is the Jahad that we see now, that playful side, almost that childish manner, that has been my argument, and that this is supposed to be that little lens of this is who he used to be. And the current Jahad, when we see him, he is going to be different in a sense that, yes, he's going to share those same ideals that he changed, obviously, of being a king. Yeah, well, duh. Like what I'm getting at is everything else. Like just the way he kind of carries himself, that childish nature, almost that way, just the way he talks with Bam and conversates. I think that, yes, through experience and through corruption, that is the change that I'm talking about and how he's going to be different. And that's what I'm curious when we get to this point to see the confliction between both of these people, because we're not going to get a one-for-one of little Jahad when he was at that time. Yeah, because he came down and he changed some memories, but like we're still going to get a little bit of who he used to be, although altered, and that is what the comparison is going to be later on down the road. So I actually feel like we're on the same wavelength for most of what we're talking about. It's just a matter of I'd be very like weirded out if we just see like the same little Jahad in like current Jahad, and it's literally like didn't even grow an inch, just like the same thing, runs out in the same shorts, and it's just like, I'm King Jahad, motherfuckers. Like, woo, woo, woo. And he's like, same mask and like all that stuff. I would just be like, all right, this is a little weird, but I mean, if they can explain it, it's SIU. He can honestly probably like sell ice to an Eskimo. So who knows at this rate?
Well, you don't even have to change that camera, my friend, because you got the next question, my dude.
Oh, wow. I actually forgot we were doing questions. So what is this? We got, what is it? Piper 5. What do you think about Khun prioritizing Meesing's safety over his own? What are your thoughts on the fight in general? Do you think maybe a part of Khun even Do you think maybe a part of Khun even thinks maybe he deserves the beating for somehow causing his sister's death? Interesting. So, I'll just go in order. So what do I think about Khun prioritizing Meesing's safety over his own? Definitely big. Khun stan, so I'm going to go easy on just giving him all of the accolades because he already has them all. He's cute. He's adorable. He's amazing.
All right, I'll rip him to shreds when he gets
you'll
me.
rip him to shreds.
I'm just playing.
Although I think it is big in comparison to his sister. I forget her name already. What is it? What is his sister's name? His arch enemy or enemy?
Ooh, something with a K.
What was it? What? Kessia. So I think that it is obviously big for Kessia because she's like, this is not of Khun's nature. And we have insight from the past that this typically isn't Khun's nature until he met Bam. So we see him growing. This is just another stepping stone of just how far he has come in terms of being more selfless with his actions, which is really awesome because Khun is a great guy. And I just think if curated in a correct direction that he will flourish, which he has been thanks to Bam. So awesome stuff from Khun. What do I think about the fight in general? It is pretty crazy knowing that he has a sister, Kaisa, who we just met off the bat and is able to almost kill him, quite literally, which is crazy because we know just the raw power of Khun, and obviously his family is strong, and his sister we know is going to be strong, but like, not going to lie, I was caught off guard just when they were having that fight, and then she just shanked him, and I was like, oh, whoa, they're not killing him, right? And then SIU being a little ass and being like, oh, is Khun going to die? Ha ha ha, just joking. No, you don't do that, like, no, don't do that. So interesting. I thought that fight was awesome. Going on to the next part of that question, though, is do I think that Khun maybe deserves the beating somehow for causing his sister's death?
Feels like a leading question.
It does
Well,
feel like,
to be fair,
okay.
do you think Khun thinks
Yes,
that he deserves
exactly.
the beating? Yeah,
exactly. And that is the importance of it, because although I may not think he did, I do. Obviously, she is. Why do I not get it right? Arch enemy or sworn enemy? Jesus.
You're good, bro.
Obviously, she is his sworn enemy, and it is also very obvious with the explanation that he was lying, and especially because he calls out Dorsey's lie. So there definitely is some deep-seated problems that he has with his sister's departure and killing herself, and I would put money on it that he probably does share guilt toward it, obviously, and is hiding it. So in a twisted way, I feel like there is probably a part of him that's like, yeah, I deserve this, in a sense, but I don't think that I'm of the mindset that he doesn't believe he deserves to die over it, and it is something that would come through redemption. And I mean, it's I'm guessing that he hasn't seen his sister since the accident because, that was the defining factor that, isolated him from his family. So I'm sure that weighs on him quite a bit. Just the fact that he's not able to see anybody that he grew up with or had these relationships with, like him and it was alluded that him and his sister actually had a decent relationship and got together well. So like, I'd imagine that is a sore spot on him, and there was probably a part of him that was like, yeah, I deserve maybe a punch in the face, not a stab in the almost death, but but yeah, that's what I'm gonna lay down on there. Although I don't think he deserved a beating because he's too beautiful for that. And luckily he was
Gonna
healed.
mess up that face. We don't need that.
No, but I will pass it to you guys.
No, I mean, I think this is a big moment for Khun in terms of character development, which is fantastic. Khun is a good guy, and one of his biggest weaknesses, I guess, if you want to call it that, it's kind of subjective, is that, he's analytical and logical, some would say to a fault. Whether you agree or disagree with that is up to the individual, but I guess, the fact that he would normally cast somebody to the wayside in order to preserve his own life, or once he meets Bomb, generally Bomb's life, the fact that he now is like, the plan was to get Misang is pretty awesome. I really love this character development for Khun. And now that it's extending beyond Bomb, right? Mm-hmm. Like I would save Bomb, I would save myself, but it's like I'll save Misang now as well. That was something that was really cool for him to do. I do think it was interesting if that was the ploy the whole time for him to go by himself, which is interesting. I guess it was like something, he still has this bit of like, I need to handle this on my own type thing, which you could argue if there's a hostage involved is like, maybe not the time,
Well,
fair enough. But
remember, he left the others behind because he left one of his lighthouses. So once they found the location, he could use the lighthouse he had to teleport him and Misang.
you're totally right. Disregard that last thing I said. My bad. That's what I get for forgetting.
I got you.
Big character development. I'll leave it at that. What do you think about the fight in general? Pretty sweet. I mean, that chick can wield a blade like none other. She just literally like cracked a switchblade out like the Joker or some shit and just like sliced him up, man. That was crazy. It was cool though. Do you think maybe a part of Khun even thinks maybe he deserves the beating or somehow somehow causing his sister's death? I'm actually very conflicted on this notion because if we didn't read as far as we did with the boat scene and him describing the whole thing that went down, the whole debacle here, I would initially think that I'm like, maybe he thinks he deserves it a little bit. Definitely not to the point of death, like what Gavin says. But then there's a part of me that doesn't think so because I think if I thought that Khun thinks he deserved that beating, that I'd really just be speculating with not too much evidence on there because there isn't anything he explicitly or implicitly says that would say that. Per se, it's really just saving the hostage. At least that's how I interpreted it. Somebody might have interpreted it different. Maybe I'm missing something. And I also think it's a little interesting. I made a comment during our live stream about this where he's explaining the thing on the boat, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically says something along the lines of, yeah, this whole thing went down, and like I didn't come to the tower for a while, like, because I figured like, she would like time would heal it. Like he doesn't say it like that, but I'm basically paraphrasing. He says something along the lines of like, I thought she would like it would be okay, that I wouldn't have to confront her about it because it's like that's blown over, like time has passed. And I even made a comment about that, and then I'm like, okay, Khun, that's the next step in character development we're going to need from you, because that is not something that just somebody gets over, like you have to have a conversation about that. Like that's your sister, right? And the sister that your other sister really looked up to. And, that's a big deal. We got to flesh that out. So I think in Khun saying that, at least the way I interpreted it, that would lead me to believe that he doesn't think that he deserved that beating, because just the fact that he's like, oh, well, I figured time would kind of heal that, the fact that he wasn't, going to talk it out and all that kind of stuff and have it like just expect her to get over it. I don't think that he's like, yeah, and I deserve to get beat up over it as well. I feel like you kind of have to hit that first notch before you hit the second one, if that makes sense, unless he's hiding something or just trying to put up some sort of facade. But it just didn't seem like it, in my personal opinion. But that's my take on the question. So,
yeah, I'm just gonna, because you guys hit a lot of similar points. The whole Misang thing, yes, I do think it's obvious growth in Khun's character, that he's looking more towards other people's safety and not his own, or not specifically Bam's. What are your thoughts on the fight in general? I thought it was pretty dope. I thought it was like cool to get like this close quarters, like, knife dagger like little like fight, in comparison to like the Bam like super Shinsu blast fights that we've seen. So this was like much smaller, much more personal and low key, which was dope. And do I think a part of Khun even thinks that he deserved the beating? Absolutely, I do. I think Khun. I unfortunately think that Khun is a character who does not think nearly as high of himself as other people think of him. And I think that conversation on the boat, in my opinion, was telling, because I do think 100% that was him putting up a front and hiding the fact that those are his true feelings. Because again, I think and this is part of what I am loving about this arc, at least in where I think it's going with these characters, is like their flaws are going to be put on the table whether they want to talk about it or not. I think last discussion that we discussed, like one of the questions was like, oh, who do you think the sworn enemies of like some of these other characters could be, and Dorsey and whoever. And what we got into, and I think what that really brought up, was the idea that like these sworn enemies in this floor, by extension, are not here to like give you little like pebbles and throw them at you and give you these tiny irritating little like bug bites of obstacles. Like this shit is designed to like bring you to the core of whatever your character flaw is, and like confront that. Whether you win or lose is up to you, but like those things are not like, small pebble problems. Those things are things you probably don't even know or understand or feel. Or if you do, you sure as shit don't want to talk about them. Yeah. So I think it's not out of the realm of Khun to lie and be like, yeah, to be honest, I kind of just thought it would all go away with a little bit of time. But like in his head, he's like, no, this has actually been a pretty big thing on my mind, and like I am terrified to talk about it. I'm terrified to. I was hoping it would go away with time, because I'm terrified to ever see her again and talk about this. Because yeah, maybe it is all my fault. Maybe and so I do think, again, that's why she manifested specifically in the way that she did. I think this is Khun, this is the sworn enemy coming out of Khun's subconscious, beating him up, giving him the beating that I think he thinks he deserves.
That's fair. That was a good question. Again, thank you.
Yes.
So moving on to the next one here, we have by Sad Sparkles. I just want to also mention that Sad Sparkles had, for both of these questions, some of the most upvotes that we've had just in general,
votes.
like 17,
yeah.
18.
That's
That's really good. So congratulations.
Good
Quite
job.
the question asker here. So Sad Sparkles says, what are your assumptions when it comes to Khun's reason for helping Maria that he couldn't disclose to others? Because now we know for sure that Khun accepted Maria's proposal and betrayed his family, fully conscious of its repercussions. And nowhere was it stated that Maria betrayed him. That's all anime. By the way, nobody knows for sure, so go wild with theories. Okay, good to know. I don't know, man. What are your assumptions when it comes to the reason for why he... Thanks, Gavin.
That's my reason.
That was valid input there. Go on, please. In terms of why he betrayed, man, that I would have to say, if I'm just pulling it out of my left cheek, as Gavin would say here, and especially if nobody knows for certain, I'm going to say it has to do with something with love is my thing, right? Because like that's a big deal to sell out your family. I mean, to be fair, family in terms of the 10 great families is a little fractured of a term at best. Yeah, they don't necessarily, it's not really ride or die with all of them, but some of them we do get scenarios, right? Like we get with White, the fact that all of the kids were willing to make a pact, things like that. So there is this connection for sure. And based off Khun's story, it seems like they had that connection. It's not like they hated each other for sure. So I think it's a big deal to sell out your family, and I think there are very few things that would make people do that besides them being a complete degenerate or a sociopath for just no reason at all. They're just like, it benefits me in any small way, shape, or form. Yeah, I'm there for it. There are people like that, but I think the inclusion of Maria definitely, in my opinion, the only other thing strong enough motivator would be something along the lines of love, like love or fear. And I'm probably going in the love camp here. It's really the only thing that I could think of to make him do something so crazy as to betray his own sister. Now, to be fair, he didn't know that she was going to take her own life. But, I mean, that's definitely not an excuse either, because even if he was like, well, I didn't know, I think that's a little bit of a weak argument just in general, because taking your life is one thing, but you knew you were going to devastate her in some way, shape, or form. You knew you were going to hurt her immensely. And obviously the taking of her own life was the worst possible scenario that could have happened. But with how these families operate and how relevant it is for their children to be at some upper level, the way that it's instilled in these children, right? We have, why do I always forget this chick's name? Is it Elaine or the name hunt, right? Mm-hmm. Elaine. We see Elaine. It takes the protagonist to bop her in the head a few times to be like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to go through this way, because she's been entrenched in that mindset for what? Like 1,000 years she's been there. And she's like, I'll wait. You know what I mean? Until they forgive me. And it's like, yo, lady, like they're not going to forgive you. That's the thing. Like, that's the thing.
What if Bear came down there and was like, yo, lady, wake up. Like, just super rude.
I mean, hilarious, first of all. But like that's my thing, right? Is like, these children, or even into adulthood, like this is what they know. And just add on top of it that these are siblings. This is a very big deal for something like that to happen. Sorry, I was too loud. But yeah, this is a very big deal for something like this to happen. So I think that if I had to go out on a limb here, I think it has to do with something with love. But that's my prediction.
So I think that, because there's a line that Khun has, I think while he's, it's during the boat scene, like while he's explaining the whole thing, and basically he's breaking down, what it was like growing, his childhood, what it was like growing up, and the power dynamic and the structure of the family, which, isn't much different from any of the other 10 great families, in the sense that, like, a normal day for somebody that lives in those families is like fighting for your life. You know what I mean? Like, I forget the line, but it was like something, that implied that he was like, yeah, like worrying about if you were gonna live or die, like, was an everyday thing for like that would like, you know what I mean? If you couldn't prove your worth every single day, like you were worthless.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm getting at with this is I think what Khun could have potentially seen in Maria is the same thing that he saw in Bam, which is somebody who wants to get on top of this system, but not for the sake of like being the next ruler or being somebody who's just who gets to now be the owner of all this power and abuse others, but use it to better people's lives and maybe change the family. And it might even be what initially inspired Khun himself to want to now become the head of the Khun family, because I think because like you were saying, he's very close with his sisters, but if his sisters wanted to be the head of the family to just continue the lineage and continue the legacy of the Khun family, which up until now has been nothing but, abusing and all the terrible things that the 10 great families have been doing, like what is that? You know what I mean? He may love this sister, but if she's just going to keep doing what everybody's doing and isn't doing anything to make people's lives better, and Maria wants to, again, Khun not knowing and not expecting his sister to take her own life over that, I don't see why it would be implausible that he's like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to help Maria. Like, my sister might be bummed about it. She might be devastated, but like, again, if killing, like, because nobody, I feel like that's such a weird thing to be like, oh, what if, for him to have to consider, what if she kills herself? Because again, the Khun family, sure, it's a devastating, like I said, fighting for your position in your life, it's a devastating and very tense scenario. But like, they're not people who, like, if they're not the head of the family, they're nothing. You know what I mean? Like, that they have absolutely no leg up on anything, and that they're not, like, they're still a Khun at the very least. And obviously there's a difference between head Khun and just a Khun. But I guess my point is, it'd be weird for me for Khun to be like, oh, you know what? I don't know if I'll do this because, like, what if she kills herself? It's like, well, I don't know. Like, that's such a, I don't know if that doesn't track for me personally. But so with that being said, and if the sisters, if their goal is to sort of just do the same thing that the rest of the family's been doing and Maria's isn't, again, because I think what he sees in Bam, it's so strong, it grabs him so firmly that it's like, it can't have been just something like, Bam's kind of cute, or I like his hair color, or this kid's spitting the right fat. Like, he sees this like will and desire to want to change and help people, and I think he saw it because he even has a line way back in season 1 where he's like, if I was like this, meaning the way he is with Bam, with Maria, like, would things have turned out differently? Because I think whatever caused him to get thrown out of the family, it was how
that line, if I'm not mistaken, was the way that Bam treats Rachel.
Yes.
And
yes,
he's like, if I was only like this.
That's what I meant. I just said it wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is that like if he was, so I guess what I'm getting at is that if he saw what he sees in Bam in Maria, but was too afraid to act on it, like, that's what gravitates him to Bam. This is a second chance. This is a chance for him to treat Bam like Bam treats Rachel, because if Khun had treated Maria like Bam treats Rachel, then like maybe the circumstances that they were in would have been different or would have turned out better.
So
curious to know your thoughts, because
I different in that opinion, but my whole thought did follow along the premise in that when Khun first met Bam, my assumption of it was that he said something along the lines of, I want to follow Bam because I want to see how this turns out between Bam and Rachel. So for me, I see something,
or just Bam in general, or just he doesn't know about Rachel yet at first.
Well, but Bam does say that his whole reason, like, other than like his reason for going in the tower, is to follow Rachel, and it's at this person. So for me, I feel like Khun might have been on that same footing in terms of, and actually I feel like that's might be a reason why the anime adapted it in a way that is similar to Bam's situation with Rachel in terms of a betrayal, because obviously if it's stated that nobody knows, so it'll go wild with your theories. I like that. That was my tying into it, is that it possibly is a betrayal and something similar to that line, or in a sense, but I do feel like it is a direct parallel between Bam and Rachel and what is happening in their relationship, and that's what caused Khun to obviously get trapped in everything that he is with Bam. However, if I had to offer another side, is that it wouldn't be out of the question in my eyes if it was purely for power reasons, because obviously when we first see Khun in Bam, Khun was like a cold-blooded little bastard. Like, he was willing to do some shit. So for me, it wouldn't have been out of the question if Maria had and also his goal was the same in becoming the head of the Khun family. So for me, I could definitely see if Maria offered him, hey, if you get me to this power or this place, I can offer you, you know, I salvation. I can be the one, like, I'll make you my prince if you make me the princess, you know, and like I will help you, or I have XYZ, you know, thing that can put you on that pedestal. And maybe Khun took it for that time and really didn't think nothing was on his mind other than being the next head of the Khun family, and knowing that his current sister, who wants that princess position, probably won't propel him up there and might even be a hindrance to him growing up there, that he saw that salvation in Maria and was willing to give it a shot, especially if she had some sort of prowess. I mean, she became a princess at the end of it, so she obviously is strong in a sense. So like, he probably saw it could have been a twist of love, power, and everything combined, and you know, a sad twist of everything. But it could be any of those. Sorry if I overlapped with people. I was kind of in and out of my own head, but yeah, I think that's
I think it's valid points for sure. Isaiah, I think you have the next question, right?
So the next question is from Vladimir. It's another repeated name. Jahad specifically mentions a red third eye. Does that mean that the other two are normal? What kind of special quality do you guys think it grants him? What are these king seeds he mentions? Are they just seeds of corruption implanted by the king version? He mentions the third eye. Do I think the other two are normal? No. I'm pretty sure it's a mask. Like SIU in the blog post states that it's a mask.
No, I think he means. All right, that is funny, but I at least the way I interpret the question is that when he refers to a third eye, I don't think he's referring specifically to his mask. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, fair enough. But I think the question is framed in like the third eye, like when people refer to the third eye, it's like it gives them some sort of thing. Like I don't think he means like the mask. I think he means like his actual two eyeballs. You know what I'm saying? As compared to what that third eye would give him. Is that what you were saying? Maybe I misinterpreted the way you said it.
No, I just don't are you saying, was there a lot? Did Jahad make a reference to like a metaphorical third eye?
He talks about the red third eye. Yeah, like, but I think, does that mean the other two are normal? Like, I think when he asked the question, he means that the other two reference are like his actual eyeballs, like where normal eyeballs would be, like not on the mask. You know? Okay.
Oh, okay. I was pretty sure he was just talking about his mask, which is, I didn't know that was like a, okay. I mean,
I could be wrong. Fair enough. I just think it would be weird to be like, does that mean the other two are normal? But like all three of them are literally the same exact thing.
For some reason,
on the mask. Anyway.
I remember reading this quote or another one, and it had similar wording, and it was like Jahad mentioned his third red eye in Crimson King.
You know what? Before you even go on, I apologize for cutting you off, but he actually posted panels in the Discord. Do you still have the Discord up here?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay.
There we go.
Now I remember. Sorry, I forgot about that at first.
This is why panels are important, kids.
Yeah. Okay. So he goes. You mean, that's right, I'm the one destined to rule over the very top of this tower, the first and greatest adventurer in the world, with the red third eye on my forehead and a crimson cape wrapped around me.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the mask.
Hold on.
I don't think so.
Because he mentions the eyes and the cape. Which is the cape that's wrapped around his body.
Yeah, so I think there is, so for me, if I can jump into this question.
Sure, go for it.
So I do think that there is a metaphorical side to the third eye in general, because obviously it's an emblem that has to bear some importance of Jahad in this, and that's the thing. My takeaway is it's meant kind of both ways, where it's a physical, like, oh, this is my mask with the third eye and the cape. Like, I think it kind of means both things, where for me, the third eye represents that these two would be the normal ones, and the other one offset in the center is actually the sight through your mind in terms of, like that's pretty much every generic thought. That's what most third eye thinks. It's like open your mind and you get a whole new perspective.
Like clairvoyance and all that stuff.
So that is my very surface level take on what the third eye is. In that situation, I think I'm with Isaiah, where it really like kind of just seemed like he was talking about his.
Well, the only thing is, if you go back to the panel here, he says, He says, with the red third eye on my forehead. So but when he puts the mask on, the mask is covering his 3 eyes.
No, but you see it in shots. There is one
third eye
right
is on
there.
his
I know, I just said that. But that's not, the mask isn't his eyes. The mask is going over his already eyes, right? So when you put a mask on, if I put goggles on, that's not my eyeballs. My eyeballs are still under the mask. He's
but I
doing that
think
to put those on
he's
top of it.
referencing the mask. Like I think the mask is essentially like it's the crown. Where like him saying in this is he's like, I'm the one with this crimson red cape. I'm the one with the red third eye, like the red third eye mask, because that's also his symbol. He's saying the person who wears this is the one who's destined to be king, and that's me.
Yeah, like I don't think there's a physical red eye there. Like I think that plays in the metaphorical like piece of it.
Okay.
He's saying I have the third red. Oh,
He's saying the one who has that mask is the one who's reached true enlightenment. Like that's where the metaphorical thing ties in. But I think he's talking about the fact that because I have this mask, because I am the one who wields this, I am the one who's destined to be king. I think that's what he's getting at here.
All right, fair enough.
let me go to the question.
know.
Yeah, so I forgot the rest of the question.
Okay, my bad.
Specifically mentions what are the 2 normal. What kind of special quality do you guys think it grants him? What are these king seeds he's mentioned, and are they just seeds of corruption implanted by the king? So Wangdan makes a reference to the seed of the king or king seed, that phrase in his backstory. I do think that they're come on, like that's come on. 2. I think the seed of the king or king seeds, however you want to phrase it, is referring to his lineage, like his DNA, his blood. You know, in Jahad's case, his literal blood. Again, I think like that coupled with like I don't know what significance that cape plays into it. Maybe it's just an ego thing, but like that coupled in with like the way he mentions that and the way he talks about like this symbol of his, this third eye, like is Jahad being like, I'm the one who has the red third eye here. I'm the one who has this cape. I'm the one who has like the seed of the king or this blood. Like this is him like proclaiming that of anybody and everybody, he's the one that has the right to be king here. Like he's the one who has all these, X, Y, and Z. So I don't think it grants him any special power. Although actually, I am now literally just remembering that in the altercation in that moment, there is that thing that happens where when Endorsi comes in the room and sees him, she's like literally paralyzed and like can't move. So maybe that's a power of the red third eye. It's like a way for him. Like again, we talk about Jahad being this very super cautious, this very like egotistical, this very like I have to control everything. I don't see it out of the realm of him having an ability, or maybe even that mask having an ability. Like that mask is linked so that anybody that shares his blood, he can control them with, and that's why he's always wearing it, because he always has to be able to control, or always wants to be able to control whoever, the princess is, or whoever, whatever, or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. I know we just had this conversation, but after you just said that, I think it would be a lot more fun if Jahad did have a third eye. And like a physical third eye, and that was its purpose almost. Like,
well, dude, no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I know you guys explained it that way, but I'm really not seeing it that way, because it wouldn't. This question wouldn't make sense at all. Saying, does that mean the other 2 are normal? Because if it's referring to specifically the mask, all 3 of the eyeballs that the mask are literally identical. So it's like weird that this question points out the red third eye, like specifically. You'd think like the question posed here would make me think that, okay, well, yeah, of course they're not normal because they all look exactly the same. But the thing that the only way I could interpret this question is like that we don't actually see the eyeballs.
Well, I think it's saying if him saying the phrase red third eye obviously specifically is talking about this, the third eye.
Sure.
Are these other ones normal? As in, like, if this one is special and has some sort of
well, yeah, but that's what I said at first. But you guys were saying no. But he's referring to the mask,
the eye of the mask. You're talking about he's got like a
physical eyeball. That's the thing. All of the eyes on the mask are identical. They're all exactly the same. They're just positioned differently.
Well, no, the middle one is smaller.
Is it?
Yeah. The middle one I think is slightly smaller than the other 2.
If you go to panel, then maybe, but I don't think so. But I'm pretty sure they're all the same.
I don't.
Maybe it's a little smaller.
It is different.
Yeah. But I guess that's my point is that, like, well, beyond that, like, fair enough. But what I'm saying is that, like, I don't think the question refers to the mask specifically, because even if it's the top one's a little smaller, the design and everything about, like, they're all identical in terms of their scheme.
I don't saying it's saying, like, do you think they're normal as in, like, visually? Do these all eyes look the same? It's saying if the third eye on the mask has like special powers, do you think the other two eyes on the mask have different?
No,
like,
I get
powers?
it. We're on like totally different boats here. I'm saying the question doesn't refer to the mask at all, is what I'm saying. It doesn't make
Well, I
sense.
think it does, though.
It does, I'm just saying it doesn't make sense in terms of this question, because they're all the same. Like the mask's eyeballs are all identical.
Yeah, but just because they look the same doesn't mean they couldn't have different properties.
I'm just saying it'd be weird for somebody to mention specifically red third eye, and then for the question to say the other two normal. Because if they're all the same exact thing, that's a very weird like question asked specifically about a mask.
I mean, for me, I don't think it's weird. I guess I'm going to go out there and say I'm not going to X off the fact that he could possibly have a third eye. I think that'd be a cool character design and look pretty sweet. But I don't think he does. I'm kind of in the camp that he is wearing that mask. And I don't know if that mask necessarily has a power to it per se. It could. But I don't know. I really don't have enough information to go off on it, but I feel like it could be on the table if he did physically have a third eye, or that mask is just busted OP, or if it's metaphorical. Those are the three. You guys can dogfight.
No, dude, you're good. I'm just, I don't know. Cause I don't know how to answer the question if it's the mask. But if it's the other scenario, and red third eye, the red third eye, like he literally has maybe not physical, but like a metaphorical or something like that. And then like he's comparing the other two physical eyes, you know what I mean, that he has on him to it. I think that the eyes could be normal. Yeah. I mean, they might have some sort of special ability. I mean, Enryu, just by being in his presence, gave people weird eyeballs. So, I mean, it's not out of the question that in Jahad's climb, he got some funky eyeballs, you know what I mean, beyond that. So, I don't know. I don't think I have enough information yet, especially because the mask covers it. I don't know. I think that the third eye is the one that he's definitely utilizing if he's going to use some sort of specific power about it. So, and I think to mirror your point, Isaiah, that I think that the third eye and Endorsee's trance has something correlated personally. What are the king's seeds he mentions? I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I don't have enough information on it. But
what if it's legit just like a potted plant that's just held like passed down for generations, and then it like grows this fruit at a certain point, and when you eat said fruit, you unlock a power?
Maybe.
I'm just saying, got a high school.
Yeah.
Forbidden fruit.
Maybe. I don't know.
Never know.
All right. Who's got the last question?
I do.
Take it away.
All right, my boy, Cold Nerd. Do you think Jahad's shorts are the source of his power? In all seriousness, yes. Now, I have an explanation for this, okay? As bizarre as this may sound, I feel like you guys might resonate to me. When it is cold out, ironically, your name is Cold Nerd, and you see a man or woman or whoever walk outside in any setting and they are wearing shorts, and I'm talking it is snowing and they're wearing shorts and flip-flops, I would be lying if I said, like I'm telling you, I look at that person, I see them in shorts, and the first thing through my mind is you're crazy. But then a second, like an underlying thought is you must be stupidly powerful for the fact that you are wearing shorts and it is snowing and flip-flops. Like, you are on a whole nother plane of existence that I am not going to reach. So that is my actual tie-in in correlation to Jahad, where I'm like, if Jahad is willing to strut them shorts, you already know he can deal with it in any climate. And at that rate, he's already above like 3/4 of the population. So yes, final answer, I do think his shorts directly correlate to power. And I'd be scared if he wore full pants at that point, because then if that actually added more power, then we'd all be dead. And I mean, yeah. So yep, shorts equals power.
Gavin, that was a brilliant explanation.
So let me get this straight and just answer yes or no.
Okay.
I want to make sure I got this right.
Yes.
You think that Jahad, the fictional character in this story, gains his power from his shorts because in real life, you've seen niggas run outside in the cold with shorts on. Am I in the ballpark? Just yes or no?
Yes. I want to preface, though, it's not runaround. I'm saying a leisurely stroll outside in shorts and flip-flops when it is snowing. That is a whole nother level of humanity that this person is existing on. I'm just saying.
I have to say, those people do have superpowers that do that, so. Dude, you always know one person who does it, and it's like, you are
insane. Like, you're powerful.
No, I agree.
For sure. I mean, Jahad's drip is just like fantastic, dude.
Oh no, his drip is ass.
I
those
love
shorts,
it.
Those shorts specifically are obviously where all his power comes from.
I absolutely love his drip because it is so goofy. Like, I love how he has these shorts on with this like ridiculously big sword, the cape, the mask.
Remember Captain Underpants?
Yeah.
That's deadass what it reminds me of, but he has his mother's red bra stuck around his head, and he's trying to run around and get it off of him. Like, that is what I picture when I see him.
I love it. Absolutely. The source of Jahad's power in the, what could really unlock it is if Jahad comes to terms with himself and loves himself for who he is. And if that means that people are going to make fun of him for his shorts, he doesn't care that he's going to do it anyway, right? And I think that a lot of power comes from that sort of self-confidence and self-belief. So, you know what, Jahad? You keep rocking those shorts no matter the temperature and no matter how stupid they look, because if you like them, you like them. Who's going to tell you wrong? You're the king, right? That's what I'm saying. I think this is what this whole war got started over, probably, because Arlene was like, Jahad, you really got to stop like wearing shorts with this whole other thing, because like you kind of look like a doofus.
They went out on a first date, and she shows up, all dressed fancy, and he comes in his normal garb, and she's like, where's the dress pants? It's like, where's the shirt? And he's like, oh, no, I got this. And she's like, well, you're not coming home with me, and you're not getting a second date. And he literally just do a temper tantrum, and then bam, Tower God. That's how it started. It's canon. It's canon. I wrote the story.
You know why she liked V? Nigga wore long pants.
Yeah. That's it. He knew how to dress. Style. But Jahad's making his own style. It's bringing it back. But anyway, folks, that is our discussion. Hopefully you enjoyed our banter, our arguments, our predictions, all of that ridiculousness all wrapped up into one big bundle of joy for you folks to enjoy. This is a fun story. It really is. To be able to have these sorts of conversations is definitely something I'm glad that we get. I feel blessed. But anyway, folks, if you enjoyed the discussion, make sure you guys are liking the video so we know that you enjoyed it. If you are new here, make sure you guys are subscribing, hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, comment your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion, the questions, all the stuff that I said prior? Big shout out to our patrons as well. We got all of the patrons that support us is fantastic, but special shout out to our Acolyte of Anime tier that goes out to Nathan and Stoic. Couldn't do it without all the fans, all the folks. So thank you for that. Also, make sure you guys are hitting up our merch shop for that 20% off any item in the store. That is going until the end of January, so you don't want to miss it. You got about a week left, less than a week from the time this video drops. So definitely get on that. Just type in the code AOA 2021 at checkout for 20% off of your order. Rep some AOA swag. Be a part of the journey, part of the climb with us. And anybody have a question that we want to ask? I said asked.
I don't know why you're looking at me. I'm just thinking.
What to 13 months does easy one does Yuri wield? Point of the question isn't to be super hard. The point of the question is that we know you watched the end of the video, so don't worry too much about it. For those of you who don't know, we want to start asking questions at the end of our videos. And for those of you that watch the video in its entirety, answer the question, obviously, and then write your comment, and we will know that you watched this video all the way through. And your question, or your comment rather, might just appear on our next discussion video or our next video in general. We could shout you out and read off your comment. So that's how you do it, is by watching the whole video.
Yeah.
Gavin, you had to say something?
Yeah, I want to say, if you want to comment on how cute I am and make sure it gets featured in the beginning of a video, you could just put in your "is two more swords." And,
I consider this an absolute win in all ways. It's a win-win scenario. But anyway, that's all the plugs. That's the whole spiel. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you on the flip. Peace.
Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blaze of the cool knives. Find me in the leaf of the cloud. screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.